Hi everyone, we are the SAR researchers at Roger Williams University, which is activating at Scholars at Risk. We are advocating for Baruz Samadov. These are my group members, Ali, Shakira, Lillian, and Rachel. Today, we are going to talk to you about our journey throughout this semester, advocating for him and emphasizing the importance of academic freedom as students at university. It is important to preach these ideas of academic freedom to continue future generations around the world.
And now we're going to transition into the actions that took place in our advocacy, and each student will go into their activities and their process and how they found their information and what they went through and how they completed their goals.
Hi, I'm Shakira, and what I've done throughout the semester is I made a flyer to push an audience for a table time at Upper Commons where students can sign postcards to express their concerns about academic suppression. Also, I wrote an op-ed to and send it to the New York Times as they're a big publication, and I'm hoping that having my op-ed being published in this journal that I would be allowed to have more than just a local recognition, but also a global recognition, with the hopes that the Azerbaijani government can see that what they're doing to Baruz Samadov is wrong. Academic freedom is a must. It is the only way for future generations to persevere.
Hi, I'm Rachel. Throughout the semester, I've attended a table at Upper Commons encouraging students to sign petitions to release Samadov and create their own letters to government officials. I have also wrote letters to multiple international human rights organizations urging them to highlight Samadov's case on their website so it can gain more attention. I also wrote an op-ed to the Washington Post highlighting how Samadov was wrongfully imprisoned and actively being denied basic human rights. I hope that through my advocacy work and the work of my group mates have done, we can help free Baruz Samadov and spread the importance of academic freedom.
Hello, so this is our group's presentation, Shaming the Azerbaijan Government. This is a reference of the people that worked on this presentation. So, starting off by talking about the prison situation in Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan prisons are inhumane, violent, and even life-threatening. The U.S. Department of State released statements about the corrupt prison and policy systems in Azerbaijan. Credible sources stating that they are denied family time, independent lawyers, and oftentimes food. Officers often beat people until they confess to the crime that they are arrested for. Our scholar that we picked for this presentation, Samadov, is Azerbaijani, but all he was doing was visiting his grandmother during summer break. He's likely right at this moment being tortured and abused in prison, all because he spoke about peace. The government often also turns a blind eye to this corruption, even when the criminal code prohibits these monstrosities from happening. As you can see, these are some pictures about corrupt practices from the Azerbaijani government in terms of how they treat political prisoners. As for the inhumane elderly abuse, the Azerbaijan government also arrested Samadov in front of his grandmother. His poor grandmother also had to witness this injustice along with the violence that probably came from him being arrested. Samadov and her grandson, they're at the risk of serving 12 to 20 years in prison. This stress could eventually lead to early death. So the prison conditions are also very bad. The prison conditions are noted as terrible. The government also expressed that since it's a prison, it's not a resort, so they're not really responsible for upkeeping it. This was their response after a lot of prisoners expressed their concerns about sanitary conditions. The government allocated $196 million, but the inmates have to depend on weekly visits to get food from their family members, which is sometimes denied. He's also been silenced by his government for wanting better for his country. So the Azerbaijan government has repeatedly fabricated false charges to imprison their scholars and academics for their academic work and activism. This is work that people like Baruz do in the interest of bettering the societies that they are a part of. Baruz Samadov was frequently part of conferences and meetings made to promote peace and promote positive relationships concerning Nagorno and the Karabakh conflict. He's also been very critical of Azerbaijan's role in their conflict with Armenia. Instead of making use of the bright minds within their society, the government has instead resorted to violently imprisoning their own citizens for promoting peaceful resolutions to government-sustained conflicts. And from an academic perspective, from political science, in terms of authoritarian governance and dissent, the criminalization of criticism, where governments facing legitimacy challenges often use legal tools such as treason or foreign collaboration charges to frame their political opposition as national security threats. In terms of sociology, knowledge control and power. Sociologically, the confiscation of Samadov's documents and laptops can be interpreted as an effort to control the production and circulation of knowledge. Rule of law and property rights, when citizens such as Samadov lose property or face state expropriation without fair legal recourse, it highlights very weak judicial independence and very selective justice. And then in terms of human rights and international law, freedom of expression, right to academic freedom, due process and fair trial guarantees have all been denied to him. In the case of Samadov, it reflects a very painful truth that when power replaces justice, ordinary people lose their rights, their homes, and their voices. No government should strip its citizens of dignity and call it order.
Hi, my name's Allie.
And I'm Quinn, and we also contributed in our group table time event by creating activities to engage students in our advocacy.
By doing so, we created prompts and bought note cards so students could accurately and cohesively contribute to our cause by notifying Massachusetts and Rhode Island state senators on our actions, as well as resource centers to promote our cause.
Also, we decided to take a modern approach and make a TikTok account as well, as posting Instagram stories to advocate for Samadov's freedom on a higher level.
Our TikTok has our main poster of our mission, as well as informal slides to allow viewers to emotionally connect with the weight of this advocacy in Samadov's case, and how, as students, we must stand up for what is right and we must stand with academic freedom. In addition, I wrote directly to Charles University to advocate in Samadov's case.
Our account has over 100 views, as well as a large engagement through Instagram. Though we haven't had responses from larger platforms, we still believe our message has been heard, and we hope that our actions can assist in the process of releasing Samadov and correct the laws surrounding academic freedom for future scholars.
Now we pass it over to Lillian to tell us about the solutions we've discussed to resolve this case and wrap up our journey of our research and advocacy throughout the semester.
In terms of solutions, we need your help to save Samadov from his government. Shedding light on the misfortune of his government will help expose Samadov's innocence and the situation on the global stage. Tweet Free Samadov on social media to bring more light to this issue, and visit the human rights organizations online and express your concerns and support for Samadov.
Why did you choose this topic, and have you witnessed any academic censorship here at Roger Williams?
Yeah, so this topic, we chose it because it's very relevant in terms of politics today. On the global stage, you see a lot of censorship in academics, especially when it comes to viewpoints that are often against governments. There's a lot of censorship, so this was a very relevant issue that we felt was necessary to discuss and highlight. And as for if we've seen instances of this on Roger Williams, as a political science major, oftentimes in the classroom, even though it's not directly stated, sometimes the mood of the atmosphere in terms of what you're politically allowed to express is often dictated by the views of your professor. So if your professor is of a certain persuasion, you might not be able to have certain conversations that might need to be had because of certain limitations that come from whatever persuasion your professor might be of. So.